back to a Fox News alert. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew of the UK, has reportedly been arrested.
Chanley Painter joins us now with the breaking details. Chanley.
Hey, Todd and Carly. So police say they took the brother of King Charles into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Officers reportedly arrived at a royal estate in eastern England earlier this morning to make the arrest of the former prince, who turns 66 years old today. Andrew is in custody, and investigators are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. Police releasing this statement without naming Andrew, saying, quote, "Following a thorough assessment, we have now opened an investigation into this allegation of misconduct in public office." We're still waiting, of course, more details on this breaking story, but this comes as after Andrew was stripped of his royal title over ties to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and after Thames Valley Police said they were assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material by the former prince with the late sex offender. The former prince has consistently denied any wrongdoing, and misconduct in public office refers to, quote, serious or willful abuse or neglect of powers relating to the role of public office. So we'll continue to bring you updates on this late breaking story this morning, guys. But for now, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Chanley, thank you so much for that. I mean, to have the brother of King Charles reportedly under arrest is a shocking development to some, but to others, I'm sure, comes as no surprise given how entangled he has been with this scandal. And it's reported that officers are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. It comes after police said they were reviewing allegations that a woman was trafficked to the UK by Jeffrey Epstein to have a sexual encounter with Mountbatten Windsor.
Two things come to mind. First, we're going to learn a lot more in the coming days, weeks, and months about how the criminal process works over there in merry old England. But secondarily, there is the question of, does somebody who once had a royal connection and for whom the alleged actions occurred while he was a member of the royal family have any sort of immunity? That's going to definitely be something that is discussed in this now what will amount to be a case, because he has been arrested, multiple reports on that. So we will see from here. But this is definitely one of the biggest dominoes to fall in the overall Jeffrey Epstein situation that we've seen so far.
Absolutely. So we'll certainly be following this one and bring you the latest as we get it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
It's just, I suppose, a sign of the world we live in, where power has no responsibility, no ethics. And I mean, he comes from a background of corruption, being above the law.
I think it's only because the public's probably put pressure on, and the media's put pressure on to have him questioned. But he'll probably disappear to some country where he won't be extradited.
I'm a royalist myself. I do follow the royal family. I do support them. So hearing that from a member of the royal family is really, it's the last straw, is it really?
I thought he'd go into hiding and get away with it. Yeah, so no, that's all I've got to say really. I'm pleased.
So that's what they call public reactions. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a 1 in the comments if you can hear me okay. Give me a 1 in the comments if you can see me okay. If you can't hear me or see me okay, let me know by giving me a 2. We are here today because we have some really serious things to discuss. First and foremost, Prince Andrew former Prince Andrew, I guess he's no longer a prince. I'd be lying if I told you that I kept up with what's going on across the pond as far as the royalty. But this guy, former Prince Andrew, he was somebody who was mentioned in the Epstein files quite extensively. I mean, this is the only guy who they actually have pictures of with women, like in a crazy situation. I don't know if you guys know, but there's a picture of him in the Epstein files where it's like someone's laying on the ground, and if I'm looking at it, honestly, it looks like a young person, like a person under 18. They're laying on the ground, their face is covered for whatever reason, and Andrew is kind of like bent over on top of them, looking in the camera, almost like laughing or jokingly, and it just doesn't look right. But this guy, Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, it's not looking good for this dude. And it's getting so bad. The things that are the allegations and accusations he's facing are getting so bad that even King Charles, he's king now. King Charles, he used to be Prince Charles before Queen Elizabeth died, but now he's King Charles. They're saying that this guy might be about to abdicate the throne of the United Kingdom in response to former Prince Andrew's arrest. So this Epstein stuff, in my opinion, has claimed its first high-profile casualty. I don't really care one way or another. If you do crime, you hurt women, you hurt children, you deserve to rot in jail, and ultimately you deserve to rot in hell. I really don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Biden, Clinton, or anybody else. If you're doing something wrong, first and foremost, you know you're wrong. You know what you did. So to even put yourself out in the public spotlight and lie, I think it kind of makes things worse for you. It makes you even more of a creep. So let's just hope that justice is served and all these monsters get exactly what they deserve. That being said, I'm not passing premature judgment on anybody. As a man, I've lived through the Me Too movement. I have a close friend who actually was a victim of that. He was accused of raping a woman when we were in high school, and he served almost 10 years in prison before the woman admitted in a Facebook message that she made up the whole story and that she had ulterior motives for lying about what happened between the two. So I've seen the extreme ends of both sides. And so I learned a lesson when I was young to just wait to pass judgment on people until you have facts and evidence that support what either side is saying. So Andrew was kind of like low-hanging fruit. He was the guy who couldn't control himself. He was right there with Epstein every step of the way. And there's pictures and emails and text messages to prove that. But as far as anybody else, even Bill Clinton, which I know Clinton's pervy, so I wouldn't put it past him. But until I get some solid proof that he was doing something, I even have to withhold my judgment on him. Let's play this clip real quick about King Charles talking about stepping down over this situation, because this is major. The monarchy has been a figurehead in the UK for hundreds of years, if not 1,000 years. And the idea that they would dismantle that over allegations or over criminal charges, because right now he hasn't been found guilty yet, so they're just charges. Over just charges is crazy. I mean, this is something that's shaking nations. And there's a very interesting question we have to ask ourselves. Is the world that we're living in becoming a better place? Because 100 years ago, these women this whole situation would have just been swept under the rug and nobody would have cared. But now in 2026, you're seeing that the treatment of women, the abuse of women is so frowned upon in our modern day society that it has if you do it, the repercussions for doing it has the ability to literally undethrone kings, bro. Like, this is crazy. Abusing women, the repercussions for that has the ability to dismantle entire monarchies. I would say that the days of saying like women are not equal to men are over. Far beyond men at this point. A king, queen, president could send 1,000 men to die like lambs to the slaughter. No one even loses a night of sleep. You abuse one woman, the damn king getting snatched up out the throne and dragged out to the city square and tarred and feathered. Let's tap into this.
Breaking news begins this hour. Law enforcement in England have arrested former Prince Andrew on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The disgraced royal family of King Charles is alleged to have shared confidential government documents with the notorious pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Ooh.
I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Live pictures now, and that is Andrew's residence at Sandringham Castle, about 100 miles north of London. Police have been searching that property for hours. They are also now at his Windsor estate, which is about 50 miles west of London. Fox News legal editor Carrier Bond.
I would imagine the UK court is going to take into consideration, because it's going to hinge on how serious a breach of duty was this. Is the public trust threatened by what he did? Was there harm? And was this information, though, inherently confidential? And that will be an interesting, I think.
In October, King Charles stripped his younger brother of all of his royal titles. Today, King Charles offered his full support and cooperation in the investigation into Andrew. In a statement, King Charles said, "Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." Eric Shawn is on the story, developing still at this hour. Eric.
Hello, Harris. Well, it is a stunning development following the release of the documents in the Epstein scandal. The arrest of former Prince Andrew on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The younger brother of King Charles was taken into custody at his home by Thames Valley Police after those revelations from the Jeffrey Epstein files released here in the U.S. Police previously said that they were assessing if those emails show Andrew giving Epstein inside information about government business and investment opportunities. They include details of Andrew's official trips and confidential briefings that he had while he served as Britain's trade envoy in 2010 and 2011. That would be a violation of the Government Secrets Act. Now, despite the arrest, Andrew's brother, King Charles, is keeping up a public schedule today. He attended a London fashion event today, and he said he does support the investigation. Quote, "I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities." You know, Andrew has long been accused of sexual misconduct with underage girls provided by Epstein. He has always denied any wrongdoing. Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre, who wrote a book about it, and she committed suicide, sadly, in 2024. Well, she had said that Epstein had forced her to have sexual relations with Andrew when she was a minor. Her lawsuit against him was settled. Her family reacting to Andrew's arrest today by saying, quote, "Today our broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not even royalty."
Okay, so the Virginia Giuffre is a very important character in this whole story because she is one of the victims who spoke openly about exactly what happened to her, and she actually wrote a book, and she actually ended up committing suicide. Right? We got to throw those up. She's the one who said that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew, but she is also the one who said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. I believe she's the one who actually worked at Mar-a-Lago as a waitress. Epstein basically stole her from Mar-a-Lago to go work at Epstein Island, and she was one of the victims who spoke very highly of Donald Trump and said he was always a total gentleman and basically said he had nothing to do with what happened at Epstein Island. So, you know, it's always a slippery, it's always really tricky for me here, because it's like, if Giuffre is saying that Prince Andrew did something, let's believe her. But if she's saying that Donald Trump didn't do anything, oh, she's lying, or for whatever reason, her story's not credible. That is basically the position the media took on this situation, or at least they pretended to take on this situation. But once their feet were put to the fire, they came out and said, yes, there was no wrongdoing on the part of Trump and all that stuff. But from what I gather with this report right here, King Charles ain't stepping down. He basically disowned his brother years ago amidst the first allegations. Andrew is probably definitely going down. If Jeffrey Epstein had not committed suicide, Prince Andrew would probably already be in jail. He probably would have been in jail 10 years ago, or at least 6 years ago, or had not Joe Biden won the 2020 election, Prince Andrew would have already been in jail. See, everyone has to understand something. The reason why a lot of people are so down on the Democrats is because for the 4 years during Biden's presidency, the Epstein file situation was pretty much put on hold. Biden didn't move a muscle to release these Epstein files, even though he had them for the entirety of his presidency. And right before he took office, Donald Trump had already prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein was in prison, or jail, prison, one of them. All Biden had to do is say, let's just keep on digging. He didn't do it. So then Trump gets in. Trump runs on releasing the Epstein files. He releases them. Everyone's like, well, why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that? Come on, goofballs. Donald Trump he's a lot smarter than a lot of us. He understood the assignment. He knew that you couldn't just attack this head on. He had to damn near create a public outcry so that he could release the Epstein files totally unredacted without getting backlash. Because I'll tell you this, a lot of people have questions about the Epstein files, and I'm going to put the link here for anybody who has comments on this. I'm not the expert on this. A lot of you know more than I do, and I'm sure many of you have questions. Whatever questions you have, I am more than happy to answer according to the amount of knowledge that I have with this situation. But let me tell you this. I see myself a lot in Donald Trump because I'm a person who's just like a straight shooter. I'm honest. I don't like lying, and I don't like hypocrisy, right? And when you adopt this position in life, you're kind of in a situation where you're like damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? You can do the right thing. People who are generally dishonest, they will spin it in a way to make it look like you're doing the wrong thing. And people who are honest, a lot of times they'll congratulate you behind closed doors, but in public, they'll disown you and they'll swear that they have nothing to do with you, right? So let's start with the first question. You come here, I want you to learn, if you don't know. Why were the files released with names redacted in the first place? Okay, that's the easy answer. The victims requested that when the files were released, the names were redacted because they were abused, they were mistreated. It's been a while since all this happened. They've moved on. They've built lives for themselves. Some of them have had children, and they basically don't want their current lives destroyed once people get wind of the fact that they were over on Epstein Island getting smutted out, right? And I use this example with one of my friends today. I said, imagine you went to an island for whatever reason, right? Because understand, the women, they're not guilty of anything. They're innocent, but there's a reason they were on Epstein Island. I don't want anybody to miss that point. It's the same thing with the Harvey Weinstein stuff. There's a reason they were on that island. From what I gather, it was like Epstein was the guy who had access to the guys that they wanted to get to, who they wanted to get to know. for opportunities, right? You want a movie role, you want to be, in some type of modeling contest or something like that. Well, you kind of got with Epstein, and Epstein was like, I'll plug you, baby. You're so beautiful. I know this guy and that guy and this guy. And that's how he was approaching these women. He was the guy who just knew all the guys and had all the connections. So they were there for a reason, right? I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to try to tarnish these women at all, but we know they were there for a reason. And if you reveal their names and people find out that they were victims of what happened on Epstein Island, the first thing a lot of people are going to want to know, especially people who they may know personally, is like, okay, Brenda, but why were you there? Why were you over there? And now it creates an uncomfortable situation, and it has the power to devastate people's lives, right? If they work, if they're any type of job that has a public profile, they might get fired, whatever. So I understand, or they could be married. You don't want your husband to know that you're over there getting freaking wrecked on Epstein Island by a bunch of old dudes. So I understand why these women wanted their names and the names redacted from the files when they were released. The mob that is social media, they totally disregarded this fact and was like, oh, they must be trying to cover something up. That's why they're redacting names. How come they don't want to say, oh, Trump doesn't want his name mentioned? This and that. It had nothing to do with that. It was at the request of the victims. So that's the first thing. That's why the names were redacted. But once the names were redacted, that created a public outcry for the unredacted files to be released, right? So public sentiment, public demand decided that, hey, we need these files unredacted. But if Trump would have released those files on his own, just without the outcry from the public, what would they have said? They would have said he's a monster. He abused these women. He knew that it could hurt them. It could destroy their lives. They asked them to release it redacted, and he didn't. All this stuff. Trump already knew what was going to happen. So he basically let the public demand that the files get released unredacted. So once he released them, people couldn't turn around and do the double reverse Uno card and be like, oh yeah, see, you're a predator, you're this and that. He's like, no, if I'm a predator, you're all predators because you begged me and condemned me for not releasing them unredacted. So I feel like Trump was like people always say, playing 3D chess. That's what he was doing. He was literally like, I'm gonna just make them so desperate, so thirsty for these files that once I start releasing these files, they're gonna go past the point of no return to where there's no way they can turn this stuff back on me. And the reality is it worked perfectly, because who's in jail? Prince Andrew, not Donald Trump. And as more information comes out, it just seems to exonerate Trump even more. Like, as much as people want to hate Trump and accuse him, he did this and he's a monster. Yeah, but that's not what the evidence is saying. The only people out here saying that are, social media fanboys and conspiracy theorists. That's basically it. That's it. And people are grasping at straw. They want this guy Trump to be guilty of something so bad that they are literally helping Trump prove his innocence. I made a post on Facebook today, and it's really sad, the level of ignorance that people are on social media operating with on things that they've had weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months to research. The Epstein files have been released for months now. You haven't went and done your due diligence and your research so you could speak with some knowledge and some authority. But people don't care about the truth. People, let's be real, honestly, people don't even care about these victims. People just care about having some type of what they believe to be ammunition to smear someone who's rich. That's it. That's where we are in society. They couldn't even tell you the names of 2 of these women who were victims. That's how much they care. And that's the sad part. But I'm going to share with you guys the post I made on Facebook. Go follow me on Facebook if you feel inclined to do so. I've been going up on Instagram and Facebook, man. The post I've been cooking on there lately. So you're definitely going to be entertained. And a lot of the news, when I can't go live, I'm posting it on Facebook. So here's what we know for a fact. These are things that are inarguable facts. And I feel like the facts that we have at this current moment, things can change, things could develop. I feel like the facts pretty much exonerate Donald Trump of any wrongdoing. And you guys can say, oh, you love Trump, and all this stuff. Not really. I'm just happy to see that the president of the United States is not a pervert. He might be a little pervy, but he's not a rapist or an abuser, right? As far as these women have told us. So here are the facts, and there's 10 of them. And I want to tell you, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened to play out with that there were 10. I'm not that disciplined or well rehearsed. So Donald Trump, 1, he cut ties with Epstein decades ago. That is an undeniable fact. I don't care who tries to lie and argue, and like my friend Jakari, he posted pictures from the Epstein files. Turned out that they saying that Trump and these boys were cannibals. Turns out the pictures were from a movie called Thanksgiving, which was a slasher film from 10 years ago. So Trump cut ties with Epstein decades ago. And I'm giving you guys that link in the comments right now if y'all want to come up and holler at me. So Trump cut ties with Epstein decades ago. 2, Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. That came after Epstein was trying to hit on someone's underage daughter. The manager, one of the managers at Mar-a-Lago, contacted Donald Trump, told him what happened. Donald Trump was like, get him out of here. He's done. He's fired. 3, Donald Trump personally reported Epstein to the police. 4, he cooperated fully with investigators. That's their word. And that's the words of the investigators. 5, he was cleared of any wrongdoing by Epstein's victims. Not only did the investigators interview the victims, but the Democrat Party literally interviewed the victims and tried to encourage them to make up lies on Donald Trump. And when they refused, the Democrat Party basically buried the story. They buried the story. This is their words. This is the words from the words of the victims. 7, he never went to Epstein Island. No one has ever seen Donald Trump on Epstein Island. There were several billionaires there. Donald Trump very well could have went to Epstein Island and still not been suspected of any wrongdoing based on the statements of the witnesses and the victims, but he never went to Epstein Island. So he never went there. And as a matter of fact, in 2015, Donald Trump, before he began to run for president, he said, I don't know anything about Epstein Island. I've never been to Epstein Island. He said, but you know who has been to Epstein Island? Prince Andrew. Ask him about Epstein Island because he knows a lot about it. So Donald Trump basically snitched on Prince Andrew 11 years ago. Why didn't anyone do anything about it? Then he became president and prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, God, the guy did what he was supposed to do. So 8, he prosecuted and imprisoned Jeffrey Epstein as president. Jeffrey Epstein died in jail. What year was that? 2019? I just like to make sure all my facts are correct. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein died on August 10th of 2019. He died in jail while Trump was president, right before the outbreak of COVID-19. 9, he released the unredacted Epstein files. He released the Epstein files, period, and then he released the unredacted Epstein files. And then 10, since he's been president, he signed more legislation than any president in history that says proper, but it's supposed to say protect, to protect women and children from being sex trafficked. Understand that all Trump slander regarding the Epstein files is rooted in political partisanship or ignorance. These are undeniable facts. There's not a single person on the planet Earth right now today who can refute those facts. And that's like, when you watch this channel, that's the type of information I want to give you guys, because I want you guys, if you go out in public, I want you guys to be able to speak with confidence based on what you know for a fact. Because when you get on these social media forums and stuff, you got a lot of people just speaking out of pure ignorance, don't know anything. I got friends who post straight up lies, and when you say, hey, bro, you know that's not true, man, I'm just posting whatever I see on the internet. But they're not really doing that. They're just lying because they're posting it with accusations and criticisms attached, right? And that's the world we live in, unfortunately. We live in this world where people, they want to take shots at you. But when they're wrong, they never can man up and say, you know what, I was wrong. I apologize. I should have did more research. They want to take a bunch of unsanctioned shots at you, lie on you, and deep down in their heart hope that the lies stick to you and hurt you, even though they know for most of the time that they're lying on you. You know, I don't think Donald Trump is a bad person. I got people going so crazy on the internet that they're like, yo, we need to overthrow the government. And I'm just looking at these people like, are you guys retarded? We're going to overthrow our government because some scumbags and creeps abused women. That's absolutely wild. Well, if that's the case, we should have overthrown our government decades ago, because FIG been cracking since the Ice Age, and women are getting trafficked and everything else over there every day. I saw this fool, this white boy from Hoover Milk, whatever the freak his name is. He's some degenerate gang member. He's on social media. This guy has the audacity to be talking shit about the Epstein files when all of his homies just got busted for sex trafficking women all up and down Figueroa Street in LA, even minors. But he's from their gang. These are his friends. These are people he rolls with. But he got all this smoke for Trump. I got people I know on Facebook for a fact they was pimping and sending hoes to the Stroll and the Blade and all that. Now suddenly they become these moral justice warriors condemning everyone in the Epstein files, but these dudes just a couple of years ago were sex trafficking women themselves. The level of hypocrisy. The level of hypocrisy in these situations is absolutely wild. I don't, as a man, I don't even think I'm capable of operating with that level of hypocrisy. But that's the way it is. Hey, shout out to Sucker Season LA for the $5 holler. Salute to the channel. I'm glad you're covering this subject, man. Hey, man, I had to. Prince Andrew's ass then got arrested. I don't really know how interested Americans are in public figures in the UK being arrested. But now that he's arrested, I honestly don't believe anyone else is going to get arrested. I mean, there's a chance Bill Clinton. There's a chance Bill Clinton might get arrested because he's definitely in the files. But from what I've gathered from the files, there's really nothing there that can prove that Bill Clinton did anything wrong. And that's what people don't really understand. You have to be able to prove it. You can't just say, hey, this person was on Epstein Island, indict him. You can indict him, but you have to have evidence to justify the indictment and to be able to throw him in jail. That's the way the legal system is set up, and I'm glad it's set up that way. I'm glad it's set up that way. That it was set up that way as a protection for people who are innocent, as a protection from mob justice. And that's what you're seeing on the internet. You're seeing, mob justice doesn't go to the street anymore. It just goes to the internet. And I'm going to be real with you. Even the people who are advocating for like everyone to go to jail and the government needs to be dismantled, even they don't really want what they think they want, because there are some crazy ass people on this planet, bro. I used to work at a job. There was a lady who said if a man looked at her, that was sexual assault and he should go to jail. And she was an old homeless. I don't know if she was homeless, But all I know, I worked at a grocery store. This weird chick would go into the Mexican bread area because we sold Mexican bread. And if you know anything about Mexican bread, it's just kind of like in a little glass and you can open it and use tongs to pull it out and put it on a tray and bag it up. She would go to the Mexican bread area, bite a piece of like every type of bread that she liked, and then just put it back on the shelf and walk out the store. She was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? She was loony. And that woman said, one time we had an employee, she was trying to steal something. He stopped her. She called the police and said he sexually assaulted her. He said, I didn't even touch you, but you looked at me, and that's a form of sexual assault. Obviously, the police were laughing and they didn't do anything, but think about it. You have people whose minds are this far gone. Thank God the internet is now the new insane asylum, so they stay in their houses on their cell phones, and they don't go outside where they can hurt the rest of us normal people. But you don't want that. You think you want that. You think you want this arbitrary justice system, right? But you don't want that. You want it's good the way it is, innocent until proven guilty. You get a right to a fair trial, speedy trial by a jury of your peers. It's beautiful. You know, the way that's set up is beautiful. It works. And I wouldn't want it any other way. But apparently this guy, Andrew, has been released.
Because Andrew Mountbatten Windsor
we can't call him Prince Andrew anymore. He's former Prince Andrew. And he's been released from custody. And so we're going to see what the latest developments are before we move on to Trump celebrating Black history. And why shouldn't he? He has reason to celebrate. The haters have once again been thwarted, and a pedo has been, had been temporarily taken off the streets, but the cat's out of the bag, and I'm pretty sure heads will roll.
Because Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has just been released from police custody in Norfolk after he was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This is the first picture of the former prince as he left Aylsham Police Centre about half an hour ago. Earlier, he was arrested at Sandringham Estate on his 66th birthday. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has always denied any wrongdoing regarding his relationship with the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and we don't yet know what the conditions are of his release this hour. Rhiannon Mills has more now on a day of stunning developments.
The unmarked police cars were seen on the Sandringham estate with no advance warning for the king or the wider palace that his brother was going to be arrested. Thames Valley Police then releasing their statement confirming they were questioning a man in his 60s and searching properties in Norfolk and Berkshire. Not naming him, but it was clear it was Andrew on the day he marks his 66th birthday. The first senior royal in modern history to be arrested, questioned on suspicion of misconduct in public office. It comes after police had been looking at emails from the latest Epstein files and allegations that Andrew, during his time as trade envoy, may have passed on confidential details to the convicted paedophile and other business contacts. Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing.
Really, what it boils down to is the question of whether the police have evidence that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor willfully misconducted himself as a trade envoy to such a degree as to amount to an abuse of the public's trust in him. Now, that's a matter of judgment. It's a matter of evidence. It depends on what evidence the police may have.
Particularly painful for the royal family because it goes right to the heart of their public service. A statement from the king came quickly, saying, I have learned with deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair and proper process. They have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all.
Are you concerned about Andrew's arrest, Your Majesty?
Hours later, we saw that with both the Queen and King out on separate engagements, where the questions may come.
What's your reaction to your brother's arrest, sir?
But it's through carrying on with their duties that they continue to try to distance themselves from Andrew. This is an institution that really isn't that reactive. They won't be forced into saying things. But in this case, they knew that there was no alternative. They had to respond because whatever happens around Andrew's arrest, whatever the outcome may be, it does still raise serious questions about trust and also the wider public role of the monarchy. The King and the palace now hoping the statement shows they are not ignoring the enormity of it all and open to scrutiny in a way that we have never seen before. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, like I said before, they're probably not. King Charles is probably not going to step down. It doesn't seem like something that. I mean, why? He didn't do anything wrong. His brother did something wrong. My thing is like, bro, you're rich. Can't you just have your own orgies? Why do you need to go to Epstein's spot to do that? That's crazy to me. That just shows these guys. And then the fact that you're like, the fact that you're like sharing secrets, government secrets and stuff, and royal family secrets with this dude. That's what I believe with Epstein. I believe Epstein was just a guy who had like dirt on everybody. And I think that's one of the things that made him pissed off with Trump. He didn't really have enough dirt on Trump. Even when he was colluding with the guy Wolf, the journalist, Wolf was like, yo, what about the massages? And Epstein's like, Trump never got a massage. Trump is smart. If Trump is a perv, he's very intelligent because he's pervs on his own. He doesn't perv in group settings. So there's no witnesses if he did do something wrong. I wanted to kind of know what some of you guys thought, but nobody clicked the link. So I guess it is what it is. But do I think there will be more arrests with the Epstein files? No. I think Andrew's involvement was so blatant, they had no choice but to arrest him. But for the most part, everything else that I'm seeing is just like, it's not stuff that could actually hold up in court. Excuse me. Excuse me. The vast majority of it, I don't even think would be admissible in court. Russia, America. I saw what you posted in the comments, but it won't let me click the link in the comments on Facebook. So you'll have to send it to me via message on Facebook. But if you put it in my messenger on Facebook, I'll click on it and check it out. But this is a mess. This is a mess. But I just don't think there's enough evidence pointing to anybody else. I'm not seeing what the conspiracy theorists on social media are seeing. They're seeing stuff that I feel isn't even there. I mean, these dudes are posting pictures from movies. Movies. Like, yeah, see, they was eating people. Like, huh? They was eating babies. Like, do I believe in the baby eating stuff? I don't really buy that. But what people are not understanding is there was an Epstein hotline that was set up by the FBI. And basically that hotline became like a prank line. People were like calling, making up all types of crazy, outlandish stories. You got people like Elvis Presley's name appearing in the Epstein files. Whoopi Goldberg was in there. Now, do I think Whoopi Goldberg was doing anything with Epstein? Probably not. Is there a chance? Yeah. Right. She was a Hollywood. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg, I honestly, back in the, she's much better looking now. But back in the days, Whoopi Goldberg was ugly as hell. I always wondered how the hell she got those movie roles. So maybe she was tooting it up for those movie roles, bro. But do I think she was eating babies on Epstein Island and stuff like that? No, I don't think so. I hope not. But I don't think much else is going to come of this unless we get something that is really earth-shattering. But let's move on. Donald Trump. Trump. This guy was over in Washington celebrating Black History Month. And what makes this news is the fact that we know that for as long as Trump has been a Republican, for as long as he has been president, Trump has faced allegations that he is a racist. So Trump went from, before becoming president, being a man that all Black people revered and respected, to once he became a Republican, he is now a racist. And I don't know about you, but I'm as tired of the racist crap as anybody, right? I just really can't. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the epitome of Black resistance to criticism being, oh, that person's a racist. It's tiring, it's exhausting, it's lame as hell. And it gets us nowhere. Guys, we've been screaming people are racist for like 100 years. What has it gotten us? Name one person of importance who has lost anything due to Black people screaming on the internet, he's racist. You can't even name one. You can't even name one. I'm not talking about someone who just really did something racist. I'm talking about just someone who Black people accused of being racist. Every Republican president in Black people's mind, racist. They called George W. Bush racist, and then him and Big Mike Obama became best friends. They hate Republicans. Oh, they're racist. And then as soon as they're out of the public eye, they're buddy-buddy. It pisses me off. It pisses me off. But I love this Black History celebration because Trump always gets a good group to come to the White House. And you just really get to see that there are some people who really, truly support Donald Trump. They're not just, I don't know why people think that, oh, any Black person who supports Trump is a token and all this type of stuff. No, we just think he's the best option for president right now. And you're mad because you can't produce or name a better option. So the only choice you have is to scream he's a racist and we're coons and we're Tom and all this stuff. It's like, dude, you can criticize all you want to. I don't care about the criticisms or personal attacks. What I care about is you proving me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove to me that I'm a liar and that I'm making this up. Let's play this.
Law and order. We need law and order. You know, Washington, D.C. is amazing. It was a crime capital. It was a horror show. A year ago, it was really dangerous, and now it's one of the safest cities anywhere in the country. And we're in Memphis, Tennessee now, where it's like a different world. In 4 months, we've made it safe. We're in Louisiana, as you know, lots of other places, and we have the lowest crime numbers that we've had in many years. We have the lowest murder numbers in 125 years, since 1900. And that's despite the fact that a lot of people are here, but those people have been taken out. Lots of them have been taken out. That's why we stopped the invasion at the southern border. And just 1 year ago, and think of this, 1 year ago, we had the absolute worst border that we've ever had, and now we have the safest border that we've ever had. So it's going to be really something. 125 years ago, that's before my father was born. I had a wonderful father, but that was before. So we have, murders are down from 125 years. We had the best numbers. When you think about it, that's pretty incredible. And those numbers are made up by Democrats. Can you believe it? They don't want to give me those numbers. They can add a couple of people here and there. But I've also deployed the National Guard to bring back safety to Memphis and to New Orleans and Washington. And the National Guard has been incredible, and people are safe. In the case of Washington, the restaurants were all closing up. People were getting really badly.
I don't know a single person from Washington that I know personally who told me, yeah, man, you should come to DC. It's safe. I have a bunch of friends, my boy G-Dot, my boy Kobe, my boy Porter. We played football together in college. They were all from DC, bro. They all told me, man, DC is a shithole. They said it's violent, niggas robbing each other. It's crazy. So imagine my surprise when Trump brought the National Guard in to help to stop the crime. 2 National Guard members gave their lives to make the streets of DC safe. And that was met by African Americans who are the primary victims of crime in DC, in Maryland. They were met by African Americans in that region with accusations of being racist. You're making our community safer, so you're a racist. Now, I think the dude with the gun, the 12-year-old carjacking you at the stoplight, I think he might be a bit more racist than Donald Trump. What is racism in action? The Klan was racist because they lynched you. They hung you by your neck until you ceased to exist. And then they amputated your genitalia and set you on fire. They were racist, and that was the manifestation of their racism. So what is little Glocktavius when he's blowing people's brains out, robbing old ladies for their purses, and dragging elderly people out of their car at stoplights to steal their car? That's who I believe is the racist. I believe black people practice black on black racism because we tend to only do it to our own race and the occasional unsuspecting white person. The hardest dude from your hood to be walking around knocking fools out, shooting, killing people that look like him. Let a Hispanic person walk up. He ain't gonna do shit. He wants peace. I saw a video the other day. These little black dudes are doing an interview for some hood vlog shit in Compton. They're thugs. They're gangsters. They're tough. Some Mexicans roll up on them, jump out the car. Oh, where y'all from? We from Whoop de Whoop Crip. That dude said, fuck Crips. The Mexican dude said that. Did the black dudes murder him in the street like they would do another black man? No, they didn't. They start making peace. Oh, that's how you feel? That proves to me black people only care about killing other black people. We only practice our violence against each other, bro. So if racism, if a huge part of racism is the manifestation of violence against blacks, the number one racist towards blacks in America are other blacks, obviously. But he got rid of crime. And this lady, I love this old lady. They calls her grandma. Grandma actually lost her grandson to gun violence in DC. And Donald Trump invited her down to the White House. And y'all how do we get tickets? Hey, Sucker Season, how we get tickets to these shindigs? Because I'm trying to be in a building next year. I like this. This will be a good look for me. Be at the White House two-stepping with Nikki. Grandma lost her grandson to gun violence last year or something like that. And Trump actually sent his people down to interview her and ask her about the situation in DC. And she spoke at this Black History celebration, and saying that she brought down the house would be putting it lightly.
Yes, you can. So nice. I like her. Please.
I like him too. One thing I like about him, he keeps it real, just like Grandma. I appreciate that because I can trust him because he tells exactly how he feels and what he thinks. Thank God for this president. I am filled, my cup runneth over. Because he allowed his constituents, his people to come to my house to interview me, to talk about the murder of my grandson. It seemed like nobody cared. I'm an advocate for murder. I marched, I rallied, I pulled out other families in the District of Columbia that had murders and did not have answers. Ooh. We marched and we rallied, and nobody heard me, Democrats, get mad at me. Until this Republican sent his constituents, his people out there to interview me in my home. Have you ever heard of a thing? Then they invited me twice before Congress to testify for the beautiful bill. that's going to change crime in the district. If you kill somebody, okay, you take a life, you do life. Just that simple. If you do a harsh crime, you do harsh time. Just that simple. And then we need National Guard, and which we did years ago. He brought it on. I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news, hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody that deserves to be standing up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off him. Grandma said it.
He's doing the right thing. Back up off him. Hey, she remind me of my grandma. What is it about them women back in the day with that sweet voice? She had the sweetest voice. She said, back up off him. He doing the right thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, I can't be mad at this lady. I can't be mad at this lady. Everyone criticizing this woman, and believe me, they're criticizing her, offered her no solutions. They offered her no hope. The black Democrats and the black police chief, black female police chief of Washington, D.C. was literally fudging the numbers on crime in D.C. to try to make it look like crime was down. Imagine your baby, your grandbaby gets murdered, and the police, their only answer for you is, well, overall crime is down. Then you find out that they were lying the whole time. I live in Long Beach, California. Call the police. They not coming. We in California, get into it, one of these thugs over here and call the cops. They're not coming. This what happened where I live. This is a liberal cesspool too. You call the cops, they answer, you tell them, hey, someone's trying to kill me. Send a car. Okay, we're going to send somebody out. You call them again an hour later, hey, person's still trying to kill me. Send a car. Oh, you wanted us to send a car? Okay, we're going to send somebody. They never send nobody. Because they know that if they actually send a car, a police report is made and that gets logged in the crime data, right? That gets logged in the data where there is at least an accusation of a crime being committed. They're trying to they artificially drive down the crime numbers, and they do it by not responding to calls. That's how they do it. When someone shot at my car in LA, them dudes they told me straight up on the phone. They said, well, that's a disputed area between the LA County Sheriffs and the LAPD. So nobody might come for at least an hour or two. What the reality was, if they responded to the report of a shooting, that would be logged in with the data on shootings that occurred in the city. And they're trying to artificially drive down the crime numbers. So when they say overall crime is down, that's a lie. When they say, shootings are down, violent crime, it's a lie. If they don't respond to it, they don't have to log it as a crime. You see people nowadays get killed. They land on the sidewalk for 6 hours, 5-6 hours. Why? Because if they come after the shooting take place, they can just act like they don't know what happened. Oh, we don't know if this technically was a murder, a suicide, or what. This is what they do in Democrat strongholds to drive down crime numbers. And this is what this woman was a victim of. So imagine her happiness when Trump came in, said, I see the violence. I see you. He makes people feel seen. I see you. And I'm going to do something to help you. Unlike Biden, who was just so gone mentally, he couldn't help anybody. He couldn't even help himself. Unlike these politicians like Jasmine Crockett and all these other Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, they don't care about black people. All they care about is getting reelected. They don't care about crime. They have to pretend that they don't see what's happening so that they can continue to lie to you and say that they're doing a good job. They have to pretend like nothing's going on so that when they try to run for re-election, they can lie to you and themselves and say, oh yeah, crime is down. They know it's not down. Grandma know it's not down. That's why she had to get on stage and bring the house down on their ass. I love that lady's speech. I love the part where she said, oh, don't get up here hating on me. She said, I don't want to hear. She said, I don't want to hear about that racism stuff. Because sitting up accusing the president of being racist is not getting you nowhere. That's not accomplishing anything for you or any other black person. All it's doing is giving Democrats sound bites to try to use against Donald Trump in the midterms. And guess what? A lot of people are like, yeah, we getting them out of here. We voting against him in the midterm. Go ahead. How does it benefit you? But a lot of black people and a lot of people, period, have been programmed to vote in a way that doesn't benefit them. They throw their vote away in the name of benefiting somebody else. And 9 times out of 10, that somebody else ain't going to help them.
If you do a harsh crime, you do
Oh, yeah, I'm rewinding this. I'm running this back a little bit. I like grandma.
harsh time. Just that simple. And then we need National Guard, and which we did years ago. He brought it on. I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody that deserves to be standing up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off him. And Grandma said it.
I just agree with Grandma 100%. He's doing the right thing. He's doing his job, and people need to back the freak up and let him do it. That's why it pisses me off that people sit up and support these terrorists who are obstructing ICE. Let those people do their damn job. Because if they really backed up and let the illegals come in here unfettered, unimpeded, your ass to be screaming, why aren't they doing anything about this? I don't know anything about going back to no jumper, y'all. I don't know anything about that. But yeah, let them do their job. And if you don't like what they're doing, vote against them in the midterms and vote against them in the presidential election of 2028. But I promise you, voting against Trump, voting against the Republicans, you're only hurting yourself. Trust me. And let me tell you, over 1,000 people have been killed by illegal immigrants in this country since 2020 when Biden started letting them in. I don't know how many people are going to have to die before people realize that that was a bad idea and that Biden operated as like a treasonous agent against the country by doing that, not enforcing the law. He sat and said, well, I can't stop him legally. Well, Donald Trump hasn't changed a single law. He hasn't enacted a single law as far as immigration, but for some reason, he's able to get all these illegal immigrants out of here without changing any laws. So that tells you that Biden deceived you. But I want to, real quick, before we go to our last topic, I want to show you this situation that's going down in Sweden, where since 2000 and I want to say 17, they've been letting a bunch of Muslim immigrants into the country. They've been letting a lot of Muslim immigrants into Sweden, and they were saying that, we need the immigration. You know, the same stuff that people say here when they're trying to get their Mexican cousins up in here. We need the immigration. They do the jobs nobody want and all this crap. Well, I'll give you a fun fact. In 2017, Sweden did not report bombing data. The data that's gathered around how many times bombs went off in this country of Sweden, because it wasn't something that ever happened. There was never bombings in Sweden. Since Sweden started letting these Muslim immigrants into the country, Somalians, Afghanis, Iraqis, and all that. Sweden per capita has the most bombings out of any country in the world. There were points during certain years where they had a bombing every day in that city. Every day. And now, violent gang battles. The gangs are using bombs now to kill each other in Sweden, the Muslim gangs. So now they're having violent gun battles and bombings in their city like every couple of days because these gangs. It's so bad that Denmark, you used to be able to cross back and forth between Denmark and Sweden without like even showing ID or anything. Now you got to get a full body cavity search to go from Sweden to Denmark now. Because the violence is so bad in Sweden now. And Sweden is one of those countries that these so-called democratic socialists point to as an example of how they want America to be. Let me know. You want America to look like this?
Sweden has a problem. Gangs with guns have unleashed terror on the streets. So how do you stop them and bring back the peace? In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash. These are some of the weapons that you've confiscated.
Yes.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
We have automatic weapons. We have semi-automatic weapons. We have 3D weapons printed.
Weapons from former wars are among those used by gangs in their urban battle, a battle where children become killers. Some of these weapons are pretty serious. This has got a silencer on it. How young could someone be who's using this in a gang?
We're talking about very, very young people who could be 13, 14, 15 years old. During September and October month, almost every day in some district or some sector, we had shootouts, injured people, killed people, and during that period also, exactly like in war.
And Sweden's child foot soldiers are not only armed with guns. Explosives use has rocketed as gangs target rivals. Violence began spiraling in 2022, giving Sweden the highest gun murder rate in the EU. More than 360 gang-related shootings were recorded in 2023, 53 of them fatal. And recruiting a hitman can be as easy as posting an online ad. This is an example of a chat with gangs, an advert really, a job advert. So what does it say?
Killings, one rabbit, 100,000 euros. That means 1 million Swedish crowns. There are 3 different persons. You will get information about them and you have to put them out, all 3 of them.
So anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
To find out what's feeding the gangs, we've come to Gottsunda, a neighborhood where crime and poverty are high. On the corner of high-rise flats, police hang their cameras, keeping watch over an area they say is a hotspot for gangsters. And it doesn't take long to find one.
You could say I've done almost everything, from weapons offences to drugs crime.
What sort of violence have you seen being part of a gang?
I've seen people getting shot, I've seen people die, people getting hurt, mothers crying in despair. I've seen almost everything, but there's nothing you can do about it.
A child of migrant parents, by age 9, Adam was already moving drugs for gangs. He's been jailed 5 times. His name and voice have been changed. How do they recruit people?
In many different ways. For example, in schools or preschools, out on the street, the people who want to make money are often children.
Now imagine a situation where you lived in a peaceful country, you lived in a peaceful city, and then some idiot has the bright idea, hey, let's let the third world into our country because in the name of diversity, equity, inclusion, and whatever else other stupid thing they're going to throw in later, and you do it, and in 10 years, from 2017 to 2026, your country goes from being one of the safest countries on earth. Hold on. And then all of a sudden, sorry about that. And then all of a sudden, you're living in a violent place. Bombs are going off now. Your kid was one. You're like, I'm raising my kid in the safest place ever. Then 10 years later, you have to like leave the city because now this place is too dangerous for your kid to survive. It's stupid. And this is where it's going. This is where it went in Sweden. And that's the United States is very dangerous, but it's not drug cartel dangerous. That's a different level. You saw with the just a little bit of influx that we have from Tren de Aragua with, you know, them taking over apartment buildings and all that stuff. You don't got no damn gangs taking over apartment buildings and stuff like from the 80s or like movies like New Jack City. That's not a reality in America anymore like that. They took over the buildings with automatic weapons. Why would anyone beg for that to happen? Why would people fight the police in immigration and ICE for that to happen? Makes absolutely no sense. But guys, I have to go. So we're going to do the Chicago Bears in a pre-recorded video. I'm going to make that video probably within the next hour. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears leaving Chicago thanks to Brandon Johnson and his socialist policies. Thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate everything you do for me and this channel. Till the next time,